Okay, so today's blog video is about parents. What advice should you give your kids as they're entering their adult life to be financially successful? Now, the first thing I'd say to you is, of course, they need to go and get a job, because without a job, the banks aren't going to lend them any money, and without the banks lending them money, or they're not going to be able to save any money. So without savings and without the banks lending money, they'll never be able to buy a property. The next thing they need to do is buy a property. But you'll note there, I'm not saying they should go to university, because to be honest with you, I actually think that university can be a bit of a trap. If the goal is to just be financially successful, then that's it. If you want to go to, because you want to be a doctor and do good things as a doctor or a nurse or a vet or some profession, that's fine. Go to university, pursue that as a qualitative goal for your life. But if the goal is to make money, a university degree does not equal money. In fact, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that a university degree is counter to making money, because something like 80% of the world's millionaires have not got any tertiary qualifications. And in fact, if you study a lot of these very successful entrepreneurs and business people and investors, a lot of them dropped out of university out of pure frustration with the system, and instead they didn't feel they were using their time effectively. I think that's probably my third point, is teach your kids how to use their time well, because you can have money, but you always get the same allocation of time. And if you're not trained in understanding time and how to use it well, then you're going to struggle from the very get-go. And when I say time, I'm not just talking about keeping a calendar and diarising stuff, but I'm actually thinking about doing a time budget. You know, if you've got X amount of hours in the week, how many of those hours are you committing to different tasks? And what hourly rate do you get paid for each of those tasks? If you actually sit down and create a list of all the things you do and how much money you can get paid to do them, you would very quickly realise that you need to plan your time to do those top tasks that pay you the most more often, and outsource those smaller tasks that pay the least to other people. Now, this is what we need to teach our kids. If you teach your kids that, to get a decent paying jobs and so they can save and borrow money to invest, and to manage their time properly, then they're going to do a lot better. Now, wealth creation is not taught at school, so my final point would be get them reading the books. And let me tell you a great story. I met a guy, I went to the Tony Robbins conference in Florida earlier this year, and I met a guy there who was a fascinating guy, 21 years of age. I said to him, I said, "You're a bit young to be here, aren't you, mate?" And he goes, "Oh no," he goes, I've got my own business, it's doing very well." And I said, "Great." And I said, "So what's your story? Tell me." And he said, "Well, actually, I just got out of jail a year ago." And I was like, "Wow, what do you mean you just got out of jail?" This kid had gone to jail for drug dealing, right? He'd gone to jail and he had to do a year in jail for drug dealing. And he went in when he was 19. And his father bought him Tony Robbins' book. And that was the first book. And because he was in jail, he had nothing else to do. He knocked that book over in something like 2 or 3 days, and then said to his father, "This is what I'm going to do for my year in jail." And then went on to read something like 200 plus books about personal development and wealth creation in that year. And he'd been out of jail for a year and started a business, and he was already turning over more than $1 million in a year because he'd studied that. It made me kind of envious. I thought for a second there I might want to go to jail just so I could have the time to read those books. But here's the thing, you know, the school system is very good at teaching kids maths, English, all that stuff, but it doesn't teach them wealth creation, doesn't teach them how to use their time well, doesn't teach them about business, doesn't teach them about investing. Get the kids reading that stuff. You'll be doing them a big favour. Cheers.